It's so funny. Every time I get on air or, just get to recording, I always feel like I'm playing radio host. Like I genuinely feel like the people that go like, you're listening to 106.1 Kiss FM, Dallas, Fort Worth. And then the song comes on. I especially think of like Take Me to Church when it came on, because it was like all this hype energy and then this really somber chord and then my lover's got humor. I can't go that low. But anyways, welcome back to Talk Wordy. I am just going to go ahead and cut straight to what you're here to listen to. No lame intro, because I feel like this is going to get a lot chattier than usual. My notes for this episode are quite dense, but it's more so to keep us on track because I love a tangent. So I'm going to try and keep some structure today, but I make no promises. And that is because we're kicking this episode off talking about this book right here in the front for all of my YouTube podcast pals, everybody who's watching Talk Wordy visually. And that is If Not for My Baby by Kate Golden. Let's get into it. First and foremost, I want to say I got the 5-star tingles from this book on page 1. Can we all just take a second? Because it's one thing to like read, 4 chapters and be like, oh, this is a 4 or a 5-star book. No. I'm going to raise you. Page 1, not just chapter 1, page 1. That has never happened to me with a book in any genre, not romantasy, not sci-fi, horror, nothing. This is the first book that's ever done it for me on page 1. And I have half a mind to crack open the book now and read page 1 to you. I'm going to beseech you to go read it yourself. It is a fantastic book. On top of that, I remember, I don't remember exactly where I was, but I just remember the feeling that it invoked. I remember some of the first ever promo that Kate did on social media for this book. And even though it wasn't releasing for at least another year, okay? I mean, traditional publishing, it's a slower pipeline. I don't even know if her other fantasy books were even done, like that trilogy. I don't even know if that trilogy was wrapped up yet when she started promoting this. All I remember, there were no character names yet. There was just like vague artwork. Maybe there was a cover reveal. I don't know. But I saw it and I was sad. I knew immediately I was the target audience for this book. I should have been groveling and sobbing and holding out some kind of pot, alms to the poor style, just to try and get an arc for this book. Because knowing I went 25 years of my life without this book physically pains me when I stew on it for too long. But yeah, something about the way that this book started in media res, which for all of the people who didn't pay attention in English class, that basically means that the book starts in the middle of the action. If I remember correctly, and I do, I was just trying to sound humble, but I definitely reread chapter 1 before sitting down to record this. The book starts with her going on this kind of ramble about how like love is fickle and love just like is antiquated on a first date. Like she is making this date go terribly, whatever grammar is. I'm an author. Ugh. And it cracked me up because she was so verbose and wordy and her date was just sitting there like, excuse me? It was just, I loved seeing a chatty woman representation. It really warmed my heart. Oh yeah, speaking of which, do you know how talented of a writer you have to be to use big, brainy words to practically breathe out a thesaurus onto the page and make it digestible for the everyday reader? Do you know how difficult it is without sounding forced? Because there are definitely books out there where that author went into their Word doc or whatever and did that little right-click synonym feature. As a baby writer, I definitely did that a time or two. I hope Kate sees this for whatever reason. Kate is like the novel writing version of Taylor Swift, because she writes something so contemporary, yet so deeply poetic on a word level. Conceptually, it's very, I mean, obviously, it's like, musician in a band going on tour and they fall in love on the road. Great. That's very easy to take in from an audience point of view. But her vocab is just so massive and so lyrical. Ooh, ooh, wow. No notes. Absolutely no notes. Kate Golden actually has a fantasy trilogy out. I believe it's called The Sacred Stones. I don't know if Not For My Baby being my first ever Kate Golden book, I don't know if that's going to like impact my experience either way, but I am highly motivated to read her other works now. Her work appeals to me on an author level because the first books that I ever wrote and the first two that I ever published were fantasy or romantasy, I guess, now that romantasy is technically a genre. But then I made the switch to contemporary with what I'm writing now. And so she obviously had her fantasy trilogy, and then this was her debut contemporary, and it was spectacular. Spectacular, give me 14 of them. I secretly have like an author crush on her. Like, I would like to be her. I think she's so cool. She's super ambiguous. She's like kind of private, but also like she still shares pieces of her life. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm stressed out showing my face on everything, and I just want to like, pull the curtain back over me for a little bit. Truly, I don't have many, if any, complaints about this book, but I would be remiss not to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is this was clearly a Hozier reimagining fanfic type piece of media, okay? And that's not a diss. I actually mean that affectionately, not an ounce of derogatory in me. Now, as somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about Hozier as a person, but enjoys his music, this was really immersive and, like I've said probably 8 times, easily digestible, especially regarding like a fan to rock star like dynamic. Yeah, it's clear that the source material was Hozier, but honestly, what a musician to pick. I feel like we get a lot of like, I've been seeing a lot of Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce reimagined romances, and great, but like that's low hanging fruit. It's right there. Of course you're gonna do that. I've probably seen some Harry Styles, obviously, like all the One Direction fanfic, whatever. But I really like that Hozier in specific is mainstream, but a little alternative to where like not everybody is all over him. Symbolic, but still able to be seen as his own unique individual. And that part I'm talking about like the actual book, like If Not For My Baby, compared to Hozier, the real life person. Halloran is his name in the book. And even in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, that it's based on Hozier, but I'm not reading it and thinking that's Hozier, which is kind of funny because I feel like it's a very close resemblance. Like, it would not surprise me if somebody else reads this book and can't not picture Hozier. I think because I'm not as involved in the fandom side, again, I'm just like in it for the music. I think he's probably a wonderful person. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't like read about him in blogs. I don't look up paparazzi pictures of him. Like, I don't know his full name. I don't. Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you. But I love his sound. I love his kind of earthy vibe. I was able to separate the two, which I think is really special and really played a part in why the book ranked so high for me. I will leave it there without crossing into spoiler territory, but genuinely the fastest, firmest 5-star rating I have given out in a while. Especially if you're in a slump. This is an amazing slump buster book. It's a one and done book. It's not like most other rock star romances that I've read. It's really good. And her writing style, chef kiss. I loved everything about it. However, On that note, let's chat a bit on books that derive from fandom, including fan fiction, and how they're simply to die for. Okay, this is a fanfic appreciation zone. We will not stand for fanfic hate here. Hate has no place here. um, you know what, fandom? I'm gonna actually like put this book down. So for all my visual peeps, this is your last glimpse. Also, this cover is gorgeous. This art is lovely, but I am going to put her, I'm going to actually swap her for this other book on my table. So let me put this here. For all my audio listeners, you're probably like, what is going on right now? Okay, now we're settled. So why am I making the switch of my book display, you may ask? That is because, you know what fandom never, ever fails me when I crack open a romance book? Freaking reylo. Let's get into it. Reylo is absolutely unmatched in the fandom world, for me at least, especially when it comes to books that are now original stories but started as reylo fanfic. Absolute bangers, all of them. So let's see. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Amazing. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. One of my Roman Empire books. I would rate it 6 stars if I could. The Hurricane Wars by, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher her name. Thea Guanzin, I think is how you say it. I actually just nabbed a hardcover of it in Barnes & Noble. They were doing a sale. I'm so excited to read it. That's going to be one of my fantasies I get into in the fall. I've heard nothing but good things. You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I wish that I had a dime for every time that I confused Kate Golden with Kate Goldbeck until I read If Not For My Baby. And also, I actually just found this out in my pre-episode research. The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. Apparently that is reylo source material. And honestly, looking at the cover, I see it now. I didn't see it before, but I see it now. And on that note, I'm going to get on my soapbox and yap for a little bit about Star Wars. I'll probably do a whole episode on Star Wars eventually because literally as of an hour before I recorded this episode, I saw an Instagram post where an official map of the Star Wars universe was publicized. And I swear to you, I need a microscope to read all of the different planets and territories and rim sectors of that universe. It is so dense. It is so magnificent. I've talked about it like I'm seeing something from like the Hubble telescope. It's gorgeous and I love Star Wars so much. Originally though, the original trilogy, so episodes 4, 5, and 6, I like to argue that it was definitely boy nerd focused. However, they made up for the fact that those first 3 episodes were nerdy boy focused because then they gave us the prequels. And let me tell you, Anakin Skywalker is not for the male gaze. He is for the girls. He is for the girls. I'm pretty sure that they literally went back and made Anakin's arc just to bring the girls in. Because if there's one thing about us girls when we watch, you know, an intergalactic space war saga, something that's really going to pull us in is a boy with mommy and or daddy issues who is having a little bit of a meltdown, but he's pretty. especially in Revenge of the Sith. Oh no, Revenge of the Sith, when they put those freaking hair extensions in him. Whoever made that decision, give them a raise. Because yeah, he's got some red flag tendencies, but come on. The hair extensions, the scene where he wakes up from that distressing vision of Padme dying. Oh my gosh, the sorrow that was constantly in his eyes. The definition of a tortured soul. R.I.P. Anakin Skywalker, you would have loved the Tortured Poets department, truly. And then you top it off with the sequel trilogy. And I know that some people are split down the middle about those movies. I myself am one of those people where I fall into both camps, okay? There's one camp of people that think that the plot rips up the progress that took place in the other 6 installments, which it definitely did. If you subscribe to the Star Wars canon, Bible, lore, whatever, you would be rightfully inclined to hate everything plot-wise about the sequel trilogy, especially when it comes to Rey, because so many things just come natural for her, and yet you spend all these other episodes watching these Jedi crawl and suffer and do all of this garbage just to attain half of what comes so easily to her with like little to no consequences, might I argue. But then there's the other camp of people that don't care because the casting was just melt in your mouth delicious. Like I said, I reside in both of those camps. Nearly everybody that was in the main players, nearly all of the main players that were in the sequel trilogy were so yummy. And I say this as a woman, the women included. Daisy Ridley is beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Oh my goodness. Daisy Ridley specifically, I feel like she deserves more recognition. This was apparently The Force Awakens was her first ever acting gig. Like big time, this was her breakout role. Excuse me? That's bonkers to me. Also bonkers to me is we're going back to our fan fiction roots. So she also, I am a huge Reylo shipper, obviously. So we're going back to those books. Daisy Ridley plays Rey, and Adam Driver plays Kylo Ren. And I swear to you, they should have explored a dark Rey if she went to the dark side concept. They teased at it. They didn't really give it to us. They gave me scraps, and I was ready for the feast. But whatever. So, like I had said, one of the books out there that started as Reylo fanfic and then became its own original story was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Well, if you didn't know, if you've been living under a rock, that book is being adapted to a movie. And the girl who's playing Olive, which is the Rey figure, that is Lily Reinhart. She played Betty in Riverdale. She was in that Netflix movie. I know she's done other stuff. She's wonderful. She's playing that role. And then the guy who is playing the love interest, the man, the Kylo Ren figure, buckle up. I feel bad that I don't remember his real name. Like his actual human name. It has left me. It is not in my notes. I am embarrassed. All you need to know, though, is that he is Daisy Ridley's real life husband. Okay? So in real life, he is married to the woman who played Rey in the Star Wars movies. And he is playing the Kylo Ren figure. Fun fact, I actually just cut the clip so I could look up his name. His name is Tom Bateman. Daisy Ridley's husband's name is Tom Bateman. Tom Bateman, you are out here doing the Lord's work. Obviously, because I didn't know his name until Googling it just now, when I looked at the casting choice, I was really confused because I was like, who is this guy? His hair is not long like Adam Driver's, or I'm sorry, his character in The Love Hypothesis, Dr. Carlson, Adam Carlson. Literally, she kept Adam's name in there. I was like, who's Tom Bateman? He needs to grow his hair out. And then TikTok informed me that he is married to Daisy Ridley in real life, and I squealed. I absolutely squealed. If you haven't been seeing Lily Reinhart's TikToks that she does with him to promote the movie, she is the marketing team. Okay, she's carrying the promo on her back, and it is hilarious. Okay, y'all, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet because tomorrow's Labor Day, and just when I thought I was going to be off for the holiday, my dreams just don't matter, and I'm working. So I'm going to wrap this up. Let's get into, before we close out, let's talk about my word of advice for the episode. And that is, if you are a writer and your purpose is to craft words try not to place your entire identity in the numbers side of things, sales, signings, rankings. If you wrote a book just because you love to write, really try to preserve that passion, because there are authors out there that write books solely with the main intent of being a bestseller or selling X amount of copies or whatever. And I think that will drive a person to burnout faster than you writing just because you love it. And that's where I am right now. I don't have it all together, you guys. I am like 5 days away from doing my first ever big book convention. I'm going to Villains and Vixens. I'm a featured author. And I was one of the first authors to like sign up for it when it was, it wasn't small, but it wasn't well known because this is the first year that they're doing it. I was sort of, taking a leap of faith. I was like, why not? I'll just pay the fee, and it's in Grapevine. It's right where I live, so whatever. And now that it's like the week of, I am so tired. I work a job in social media, and so doing social media as an author, I am so exhausted, and I decided to upend my entire posting schedule to post, when I'm not depleted of all my energy. And I lost so many followers. Okay. And I understand that followers really don't matter, but losing a bunch of followers right before a big book convention, it feels worse than a breakup. It genuinely devastated me, and I feel like a deflated balloon coming into this big event that I have spent the last year and a half getting so excited for, thinking it would never come. No way am I going to be 25 years old and blah, blah, blah by the time that this event comes around. And here we are. And I am just I don't want to say miserable or hopeless, because I'm not. I am like in deep down, I really am excited to be a part of this, but I am just so worn out in every single way you could conceptualize it. So, but I will say I still have my passion for writing, even though I'm also in the middle of being tired. I'm on book submission and I'm hearing nothing right now, like no yeses, no nos, no nothing. It's crickets. And trying to write my next book, there are so many ways that I can go about depleting my entire life force, but I write because I love it. I don't write to have a certain status or have a certain amount of followers or whatever. So, this word of advice is mainly for me, but also for anybody else who's listening, who's a writer, no matter what level they're at. So, keep writing because you love it. Try not to focus on the numbers side of things. You handle and create words for a reason. I like to tell people I do the alphabet and then my husband does the numbers. That's just how we work. I feel like it's sort of like the olive theory from How I Met Your Mother. Like one person loves olives and one person hates olives. I feel like I hate numbers. I hate them. I don't want any part of numbers. And that's what my husband is for. But I'm the words girl. Obviously, this podcast is called Talk Wordy. So, but yeah, that's the episode, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I always have a blast doing these. I hope I stayed within a decent time limit. We can always, talk more fanfic, talk more Reylo, talk more Star Wars. And again, go read If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. It was fabulous. The audiobook is coming out soon. And honestly, it is better that I read this on paper, because had I read this on audiobook, I would have been feral and not been allowed to leave the house. So because of my behavior. So I think it's for the best. But go read it, or if you're an audiobook girl, wait for it to come out. And trust me, if reading it with my eyeballs was as good as it was, the audiobook is going to absolutely smash. So yeah, thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.